2023. This is my live session for the day, obviously. I did my workout earlier and posted it. So I'm here to read from my blog, see if anyone pops up, see if anyone wants to chat, has anything they want to talk about, has any questions for anything that I've chatted about before, regardless of when. In any one of my posts, in any one of my workout posts, my after talks or my talks during the workouts, even a casual mention, something that I might have said at one time or another. Always open to discuss anything and everything, even if I don't know anything about it. And the funny thing is that I know so little about most of the things I talk about. I know so little about anything. There's a wonderful book by, I can't remember his name. He's a Korean Zen master, passed away, I believe, in the 90s. And he, one of the names of his books is Don't Know Mind. And that is basically the place to be. That's the place where we all are. The backdrop, the, you see me? Hey, Mocha. The backdrop of who and what we are is I don't know. It's a mystery. Yet it's filled with the familiar. It's filled with the things that we do know or we think we know. It's filled with the roles that we play. And we never get back to that mystery. We never get back to I don't know. We always have an opinion over something. And it's those opinions that lead to quite a bit of trouble in the world. My opinion versus your opinion, our opinion versus their opinion. And yet, all of them are just opinions. Now, of course, you know, I say I don't know mind, and then things that come from there. It doesn't mean that those opinions are worthless. It just means that we're no longer holding them as opinions. We're holding them as fact. We're holding them as truth. And if what I believe is true, if my opinion is true, well then, heck, how can yours be true? They can't. They can't be opposed. It can't be two opposite views and both of them be true. But when we have that, even a little glimmer of that I don't know mind, we find that there is an allowance for the appearance of truth. There's an allowance of maybe there's a glimmer of truth in both, or maybe it's just an opinion, you know? Maybe one of us, maybe both of us are just flat out wrong. Who knows? So my blog post today, I found myself thinking about purpose, and even a few things that I read had come up as a mentioning purpose. I've seen some videos where people talk about, you know, the true purpose. This is the purpose of this group of people. This is the purpose of who I am by virtue of whatever. But again, it's an opinion held so deeply that we believe it's true. Hey, how are you? I'm glad you caught me live. It is what it is. The best reps in the burpee business. Smoothest, cleanest. You watch his very first rep at the beginning of 100 and plus session, and it is the same quality as his, the first is the same as the very last. The last is the same as the very first. Something I aspire to. That perfection, that ease of motion. Wonderful thing to watch. Beautiful thing to watch. Thanks for joining. So talking about purpose and believing that we have this purpose, that we have this divine purpose, or that we have this, I appreciate you too. Appreciate you being here and the support that you've given and the hard work and effort that you put in on your page every single time, every single session. But that purpose, again, is just an opinion that we believe so deeply, a belief held so deeply that it seems to be a reality, that we believe our purpose is to be a parent. Instead of being a parent is something that we do, something that we love, something that we deeply cherish. Um, but it's not what we are. It's not the um, end all, be all of our existence. It's a wonderful aspect of one existence. That's the thing with purpose and with roles, is just because we say that it's a role, just because we say that it's not who we are, doesn't lessen its importance, doesn't lessen how much we love and cherish um, doing what we do. It doesn't take anything away from any of that, but it gives us space. It gives us space to be other things as well. It gives us space to cherish other things and other people. Um, we become parents to more than just our children. We become parents to every child. We become parents to every child that needs something from us. We no longer make those little separations of, this is my role as a parent, but only for you, but I don't have it for you, and I don't have it for you, and I don't have it for you. It's a kinship with all life. So here it is, what I was thinking this morning. It's ironic that I'm writing about, hey, Paul from Oregon. Thanks for being here. My all-time favorite drummer. More favorite than Ginger Baker. More probably crazier than Ginger Baker. It does take a village, Milka. And the thing is, we're all villagers, and we're all tribal leaders. We play every single role. That's the thing about being without a role. That's the thing with being without that true belief of, this is my purpose, this is who I am, is that then we take on every single role. Everything. We have the role, we're leaders of our country. It's not just the leaders that we like in Washington. It's not just the leaders that we don't like in Washington. It's us. Everything. Everybody. That's our role. That's the thing about being emptiness, nothingness, is that it gives us the possibility, the potentiality to be everything. When we hear the Heart Sutra, emptiness is form, form is emptiness, it's not two separate things. It's not form becoming emptiness or emptiness becoming form. It's one thing. So that emptiness, I do talk about Paul a lot. And I mentioned Paul and the Poles from Oregon as a torturous bane of my pull-up existence. And I mentioned Ginger Baker and the fact that it shouldn't surprise me that this routine came from a drummer, because drummers are inherently crazy. And Ginger Baker might have been the craziest, and yet Ginger Baker never came up with Poles from Oregon. Ginger Baker never came up with a pull-up routine so torturous that every fiber of my body, every fiber of my existence, which you just heard me say, emptiness is form, form is emptiness. That means every fiber throughout the universe, throughout eternity, actually shuddered doing that routine every time I do that routine. Ginger Baker and all his craziness, and the fact that rumor has it he sodomized the robber with a drumstick for breaking into his house, still, as crazy as that is, still never came up with anything as crazy as Poles from Oregon. So, all right, back to purpose. Paul's purpose was to come up with a pull-up routine that demonized the burpee community. So we all have that purpose, somewhere along the line. So without true purpose, we are all purposeful, meaning that we all have that role to play in society that benefits everyone. Our purpose, our singular purpose, is to be of service. Now that also means to be in service to ourselves. Our happiness is as vital as the happiness of every other person in the world. And yet, that person, any person, as Jesus said, the least among us, that too is as vital as ours. We can't separate that. If we have, um, if we have the uh, desire, if we have the intent, if we have the interest to heal ourselves, that is the same intent, the same desire to heal the world. If we have the desire to heal the world, it's that same intent to heal ourselves. Emptiness is form, form is emptiness. It's the same thing, the very same thing. So I wrote about purpose. And again, ironically, virtually my entire life, I never knew what my purpose was, and I felt out of place. Everyone had one. This friend wanted to be a doctor. This friend wanted to be a truck driver. This friend wanted to be whatever. Everyone had a purpose. Even if it wasn't defined by job, this person's purpose was to be a parent, the world's greatest dad, the world's greatest mom. Everyone had that assignment. Either because the teacher said, you're really good at this, or your parents said, this is what you're going to do. Your father said, you're going to inherit this job, this career, this whatever. The clergy told us that our purpose is to be holy, our purpose is to be divine, whatever. Everyone had one in my life. I never had one, or so I thought. So anyway, this is what I wrote this morning on my blog. And if I remember, I'll post my blog link. I never remember, but I always say that I'll remember. It's the same as if you watch me do pull-ups and my grip keeps falling down and I say, I'm going to duct tape that. And I've been saying that for years and I've never, ever even come close. I've never even taken duct tape downstairs into my workout room. So have a great day too. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate it. So I wrote about purpose, not feeling that I had one. But again, ironically, I've always had one. It just wasn't what I expected. At one time, I thought, my purpose was to be a writer. My purpose was to write poetry. My purpose was to help heal people. My purpose was, and it is, but it isn't either. Take care, Paul. Thanks for tapping in. I'm glad you actually had a chance to chat with Milka. So here's a blog post, and it is about purpose. It feels a bit odd for me to even consider writing about purpose. That after having spent much of my life doubtful that I would ever reach the point of feeling accomplished and assured of who I am, and to now believe that I have anything of value to say on the subject, leaves me feeling slightly incongruent. Of course, that's precisely why my insights matter, to me at least. Here's what I know about purpose, mine. It has nothing to do with career or family. There's no grand assignment assigned forth from the stars as to what I'm meant to be. I don't believe that there's a divine plan for me to follow. I don't believe that I am supposed to be anywhere or anything of value. All of this might be true for others, and I'm filled with happiness knowing that their lives have had this meaning. Yet none of this is their real purpose. It's not the reason they're alive, as if existing to fulfill these certain goals and checkpoints of what's considered a well-lived life. No, there's a singular purpose here, just not the one that we believe. For me, at least. Here's the one purpose, and that's to be alive. Really, it's that simple. My purpose so easily fulfilled. I am life, fully divine by virtue of appearance. And even if existing solely by chance, the universe must have been aligned a certain way for my arrival. Any slight shift of ocean tides or the arrangement of stars, and I might not exist at all. About purpose. And here's what I know for certain. I find no reason to be alive aside from the experience of being life itself. That my true and only purpose was immediately revealed in the exact instant of my arrival, or maybe even long before. Perhaps my only real purpose is to be astonished by existence, all of it, every aspect that conspires for me to be alive, aware, and able to give such deep appreciation that it's so. I see that none of this is based on accomplishment. There was no effort involved for this achievement, not from me. I'm a product of some continuous purpose of the universe at large, meaningful by virtue of grace and appearance, divine by my very nature, and that's all the assurance that I need. So, purpose. There it is, and yet it's not what I expected. My purpose is to be alive. My purpose is to breathe. My purpose is to be a body, to be more than a body. Who was it who famously said that I'm not a human being having a spiritual experience? I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, which is true. And yet it also implies a slight separation, that there is a human and a spiritual realm, that the two are separate. My purpose, again, is to be alive, to exist. And if you go back to work, Paul, take care of your phone. You'll have to explain. I know Osiris asked as well. I forget what you said, the term that you used on what you actually did to your phone. But I'm sure there's an interesting story behind that hopefully you'll tell maybe at the beginning of your next brush hogging. That's it. It sounds so different than what it probably is. And I'm not even going to surmise what it sounds like. Coming from the, I'm definitely interested in hearing it. I'm not going to go into detail about what I think brush hogging might be, or never mind. So, my purpose is to be alive. Again, that's it. That's your purpose. And guess what? Well done. You accomplished it. The hard part's over. You're here. That the arrangement of particles in the atoms, in the molecules, in the cells. Great job, guys. You came the entire Big Bang from a singularity into an ever-expanding universe. The fact that space and time doesn't even exist until the universe needs it, and then creates it on the fly, and that we occupy that space. How's that for purpose? Occupying space and time itself, being time and space itself. Without your existence, there is. Hello, Marley. You know what? It sounds deep. It's not as deep as what I'm going on about. Mocha could testify that on a good walk, I can sound extremely deep with a big smile on my face and actually have said absolutely nothing by the time the walk is over with. So, although I'm joking and saying it's not deep, it's also about as deep as you can get, because I'm talking about the universe, and I'm talking about where do you leave off and the universe begin? Where does the universe leave off and you begin? If you show me that line, I'll believe in two separate things. In the absence of that line, and in my own personal experience of self-inquiry, of meditation, of deep insight, of taking hallucinogens, I've never seen a dividing line between myself and the universe. So in the absence of proof, I am. I talked about I am the other day. I am is existence. I am is our reality. Everything precedes I am. When Moses was on the mountain in front of the burning bush, and he was handed the 10 Commandments, and he was going back down, and he asked, "Who shall I say I talk to?" And the answer from the flame was, "I am that I am." I am Satchit Ananda, Sanskrit, bliss. I am. That's who we are. Bliss, peace. I think that was I am. I think he was actually saying that he was drawn like a potato, Paul. I think he literally was saying, I am what I am. I am a sweet potato. Hey, if you know, if you had a sweet pea, you could have a sweet potato as well. That's my theory. That's my Popeye theory, and I'm sticking with it. Probably it was based on he was eating spinach from a can. He probably had botulism. You know, um, he was not a healthy person. If you look at his arms, he had swollen forearms, little tiny bitty biceps, at least until he ate his spinach. Um, so I am, and then everything proceeds from there. Here's the thing about roles. Uh, I am, and that's a great point. Okay, we, you know, think about the doctors we see. Everyone has a specialty, um, but they have a hard time tying it all together. Um, you have to see if you have trouble with your liver, you see a liver specialist, and then because the trouble with the liver is going to lead to something else, you need to see a specialist to treat the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. I'm not saying that's wrong, but if we can't view the body as a collection of whole, yams are as close as potatoes as we believe they are. There's a deep metaphysical truth in the connection of yams and potatoes, and no one can possibly tell me otherwise. In the depth of my meditation experiences, I have seen the deep connection between potatoes and yams. It's deep spiritual truth. You can take my word for that. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It wasn't deep meditation, actually. It was 1983 at a dead show at Meriwether Post Pavilion, and I was on quite a few mushrooms. I get those experiences mixed up. That's a good question, Paul. I'm going to let Milka field that, as she has just declared herself as the expert on potatoes versus yams. So I'm sure she has a deep insight to provide there. Amazing that I actually had so much to say about yams and potatoes. Amazing that actually I've talked for 23 minutes and I haven't a clue what I've said so far. If I've covered what I meant to cover. Honestly, I didn't mean to cover anything. I basically sit down and I open up, and whatever seems to come out, seems to come out. So I think you play a yamologist on TV, Milka. So I am. Everything proceeds from there. That's the reality, the one reality. The single best book I own. Marley, I try to do it about 1 o'clock every day, thereabouts. A little before, a little bit after. It all depends, but more or less, that's it. It's only something I've recently started. I post my workouts. It's a burpee blog, and somehow after I was finished burpee, I blame it on the lack of oxygen. Things just started coming out about all kinds of other stuff, and we're still talking about yams. I'm sticking with my mushroom and LSD experiences, that yams and potatoes are all one thing. It's a one thing being expressed in different arenas of yumminess. I'm going to say, don't hold me that. Nisargata Maharishi, great spiritual teacher. Specific time, I live stream about 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. I try for every day. That's the goal. Mainly, I read something from my blog, and then I talk about anyone who, if anyone has anything, any questions or anything they want me to talk about, or as I mentioned earlier today, and I actually meant to bring this up before, to have a dialogue. And by dialogue, meaning that we're in this together. I can't say anything um, that of any importance unless it's registered by someone else. It's not going back and forth. It's giving and receiving. And that's part of a great dialogue. And that's why I like reading the comments here. I I'm going to agree with you, Paul, that for one, Devo is probably a good idea. I think Devo would put a good spin, a good soundtrack on the entire conversation that we're having, and that I'm fully of the belief that in essence, we all contain that spark of potato-ness that springs out through the world. Maybe that's the purpose, is to help people realize their true potato divinity. There's a blog post here for me, I believe, to write about the divinity of the potato. If I had a large Irish audience, they would be completely in agreement with me. If still in the game, if Tony were to show up, I'm sure he would agree 100% in what I'm saying about the divinity of potatoes, the brotherhood of potato-ness. It's going to have to, potatoes are going to have to go, when I redo the title for this, I'm going to somehow have to think of a way to fit potatoes into the title. And anyone who joined in this conversation thinking, I wonder what this guy has to say. I wonder if there's any deep significance and importance in this conversation, in this dialogue. And then they've heard me yammer on, you get it? Yammer on about potatoes for that long. All right, Nisargata Maharishi, great spiritual teacher. I do yammer on, don't I? And he was a great spiritual teacher. His seminal classic book, I Am That. The only book we need to read. Well, I'm sorry. The only book on Eastern spirituality, non-duality, of Vedic knowledge that we need to read. It's right there. And if we remember, I'll put a link to that as well in the description. So, I am, and everything precedes. I am is a reality, and then the roles we put on follow. I am a teacher. I am a meditation teacher. I am a burpee practitioner. I am a friend. Do you notice what's the common ancestor to each of their statements? I am. So, our purpose begins with I am. Our purpose ends with I am. That's it. Be alive. Exist. Everything that follows is in Vedic knowledge. They would say everything that follows is Leela, is Maya, is an illusion, illusory. To me, illusory is a better word than illusion. Illusion we think of maybe a dream-like quality to it. Illusion we think of as not being real. If we see things as an illusion, we don't give it the seriousness that it deserves. However, there's a dream-like quality, an illusory quality to the world. It makes it more, it's another aspect of dreaming. It's a deeper aspect of dreaming. It's a dream that we believe. When we have a dream, when we dream, we fall asleep, and we dream the reality of a potato. When we're dreaming, we are a potato. when we're awake, we're back to being who we are. Honest to God, I've never had a dream about a potato before, but I bet you tonight I'm going to have a dream about a potato. I'm going to have a lucid dream. Um, this is, you know what I blame on this as well? I blame this entire conversation on Paul from Oregon because I recently read Philip K. Dick, Malice, and the weirdness has continuing and it's resurfacing. I'm being beamed potato information by a pink light. Paul, I hope you appreciate that. Very, very weird conversation that we're having. I seldom ever completely lose track of what I'm going to say. I just allow it to take different directions. But the potato-ness has actually almost thrown me. I actually do know that it is partially true that he had some experiences eerily similar to what he was talking about. I have an old book of his that I haven't read that I've had for years, Mary and the Giant, a more serious book, California in the 50s. And I'm going to dig into that soon. I looked up some information after reading the book, and I saw the existence of the pink light and what it did for him. It was interesting reading about some of the characters in the book. I didn't realize they were based on true people, other science fiction writers as well. Excuse me. So reality is weirder, obviously, than we can imagine. Philip K. Dick was a master at pointing out how weird that was. And of course, my own experiences with hallucinogens through the years showed me that, how flexible reality actually is. Interesting, because where does that leave us? Where does a flexible, illusory, dreamlike reality leave us? What if everything we believed is a little more illusory and dreamlike than we realize? What's possible? In which case, getting back to purpose and roles, why pick one? Why just be this? Why be the world's greatest dad? Why not be the world's dad? Why be the world's best teacher? Why not teach the world? There's no need to limit ourselves. There's no need to, hey, if we're being beamed information from the pink light, wherever that may come from, spread the gospel. There's vital information here. There's vital information in being alive and existing. We don't have to know anything. Again, we're here by virtue of the arrangement of the stars. We're here by virtue of the arrangement of particles and the atoms and the molecules in the cells. That's an inherent intelligence that we are. It's not based on the brain. It's not how much information we can retain. It's not about information at all. It's not about knowledge at all. It's about knowing everything because we are everything. Because there's that no line of separation that we talked about before. With no line of separation, how can we miss out on anything? Where do we have to go? Where do we have to travel? The world is right here. Different scenery. Different scenery is nice. I saw the Grand Canyon. It's beautiful. It's steep. I didn't want to get too close to it. Although I would like to do a homemade ultra. Run down the canyon and back up. You can do it in a day. Dancing molecules, exactly what we are. Um, that's a shameless plug for one of my books, by the way, self-published book, and it actually came out like 20 years ago. Um, but that's what we are. Molecules. We're also cells. Do we say, I'm just a molecule? What would that leave out? It would leave out cells. It would leave out organs. It would leave out the skin. It would leave out the intelligence that holds it all together. Do we ever say, I'm just an atom? I'm just a particle? What we can honestly say, more than that, is I am the emptiness that holds it all together. I am the spaciousness what allows all of that to be. End of story. Is there anything within spaciousness that isn't? If it appears, it's also part of who you are. It can't be denied. Which philosopher said, Kierkegaard, nothing human is foreign to me? Why leave it off at human? Nothing is foreign to me because it is exactly and only what I am. Simple. That's it. If you want a purpose, take a breath. You've displayed it. You've displayed the drawing in air that touches everything. You've drawn in molecules that belong to, that made up Leonardo da Vinci. You're drawing in molecules in your breath right now, the same molecules that made Ginger Baker, the same molecules that made the drumstick that he sodomized a robber with. Kind of gross, but hey, you can't pick and choose. That's existence. Everything exists. Everything is here. Everything is right now. That's it. I think probably ending a conversation based almost entirely on potatoes, yams, and Ginger Baker sodomizing a robber. I think, and then saying that we are the exact same substance and existence and molecules as that drumstick. I think that is probably the single best place that we could leave this dialogue, and maybe walk away with some semblance of our dignity intact. Probably so. I'm gonna be back tomorrow. I'll read whatever I wrote. If anyone watches this later and there's something that they would like me to talk about, or have a question, ask. Let's talk about it. Again, not me talking about it. Let's have a dialogue about it. Thanks, Paul. I really, really appreciate you being here. It actually means a lot. And it makes me smile knowing that you were part of a crazy conversation with Milka. You two are, you heard me talk about the weird, WYRD, and you two are in the weird family together in the bestest way possible. So I'm signing off, guys. Thanks for being here. I appreciate everyone who stopped by, everyone who's gonna maybe watch later, anyone who stumbles across this later, and you guys take care, right? I'll see you tomorrow for burpees, and I'll see you tomorrow again for, the ongoing dialogue of potato and drumsticks. You guys take care. Bye.